We've got more breaking news on the injury front here at CBS Sports HQ. Bucs wide receiver Chris Godwin expected to miss the rest of the regular season for the sprained MCL, according to multiple reports. Went down in that game, could reportedly return just in time for the playoffs, which is really the most important thing for the reigning champs. Costly loss for Tampa Bay last night against New Orleans. Godwin, Mike Evans, Leonard Fournette all leaving with injuries. The numbers for Chris Godwin this season ranked pretty high in terms of catches and yards per game. In terms of the touchdowns, maybe not necessarily there, but of course a popular fantasy pick this year along with Mike Evans coming into the season, and it has paid off so far for those managing Chris Godwin. More injury news here, so we have Dave Richards still with us. And Dave, what do you think from what we saw last night on Sunday Night Football, and with Chris Godwin here specifically for him missing the next 3 games?
There's a lot of moving pieces in Tampa Bay's passing game. The first one that we know of, the first domino to fall is this one, the fact that Godwin going to be out for the rest of the year. And this was the slot receiver that Tom Brady relied on the most, not just this year, but each of his 2 years in Tampa Bay. Him not being there means that they're going to have to put somebody else in the slot, somebody that Tom Brady's going to have to trust and lean on. And I think that could end up being Tyler Johnson. He's the one that's played the most in the slot among the reserve receivers in Tampa Bay. Normally, I might say, well, it'll be Antonio Brown. And we've seen Brown play in and out of the slot his entire career. He could do it. But if Mike Evans is out, well, that leaves a huge gap on the outside. We were waiting for that domino to fall. If Evans misses time with the hamstring, and remember, he missed time late last year with the hamstring injury, then Brown's going to have to play on the outside, Tyler Johnson on the inside, or maybe they mix and match a little bit. But either way, you're going to see a lot more of Tyler Johnson. And he's an interesting prospect, second-year player who could be a factor for fantasy managers over the next couple of weeks. Would definitely make him a priority off the waiver wire if he's going to be on the field all the time, catching passes from Tom Brady. Yeah, that usually works out and helps people in fantasy football.
What do we think about Rob Gronkowski? Had a monster first quarter of the season. Does any of this with anybody with him in the postseason playoffs there, Dave?
It was a dud game against New Orleans, and he made a bunch of mistakes, had a couple of drops in the game, but guess what? You're going to go right back to him as a must-start fantasy tight end. Look at the 11 targets against New Orleans. Brady throws to him quite a bit. Him and Antonio Brown have the highest target per route run rate on Tampa Bay this season. So at least those guys are going to be around for TB12, and I would expect him to continue to lean his way. Big-time red zone option that Gronk is. I'm not telling anybody anything that they don't know already.
Yep.
Must-start fantasy tight end despite the bad game against New Orleans.
We were talking about Nick Mullins and some options for him this week. Obviously, if you're getting through this playoff round with Tom Brady, you're going to be fine. You got through it. But if the next week comes up, most likely semifinals or finals, depending on the format you got, what do you think about Tom Brady with all these injuries? Do you keep him? Do you look somewhere else? What do you think about
How do you sit Tom Brady against Carolina? I just have a hard time doing that. I know that Panthers defense on paper does have a lot of exciting components. They've got a good pass rush. Stephon Gilmore in the secondary. But we just saw the Bills put up some nice numbers against them. Josh Allen hit him up for multiple touchdowns. Gabriel Davis had 2 touchdowns in the game. I can't help but see Tom Brady still as a top 5-ish type of fantasy quarterback.
Half of the Buccaneers' regular season losses this year have come to the New Orleans Saints. They were in a position to maybe contend for that 1 seed, which they're still there. But with the Cardinals loss as well, the Packers currently hold that spot. What do you think about Tampa Bay big picture?
I think that they're a contender still. And I know right now it's kind of passé to say, oh, they're not any good and they're beat up. And we'll see. We really have to see. But if Godwin's coming back for the playoffs, and if Mike Evans is coming back for the playoffs, and Antonio Brown's going to be back in Week 16, and this defense will eventually gel and find itself, it's going to be a copy of last year where they're going to be just in the right place at the right time. I think that they're still contenders in the NFC. I think that if there's a chance to maybe sprinkle a little bit of cash on them to win the NFC while their odds are going up, take advantage of that. I think they're still going to be around.
All right, Dave, certainly appreciate it. 2 games tonight and 2 more on Tuesday. Again, we've had some postponements and rescheduling in the NFL due to COVID-19 impacting many franchises across the league. Fantasy football today coming up at noon Eastern today on CBS Sports HQ. You know, on YouTube and the podcast, the fellows have you covered. Make sure you download and follow today.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.